The story of the Ansted automobile is less about a car and more about a corporate empire built on engine manufacturing and ambition, centered in the unlikely automotive hub of Connersville, Indiana. The car's life was brief, but its origins run deep into the American industrial landscape. The Ansted dynasty was founded by Edward Ansted, a dynamic entrepreneur who, in the late 19th century, helped transform Connersville into a center for carriage and later automotive component manufacturing. The key player in the automotive segment was Edward's son, Frank B. Ansted. By the early 20th century, Frank B. Ansted had amassed control over several key companies, including metal stamping plants and foundries critical to car production. Frank B. Ansted's first major venture into finished automobiles was the Lexington Motor Car Company, founded in 1909 in Connersville. Lexington produced mid-priced, reliable vehicles and quickly grew to be a respectable regional manufacturer. By the outbreak of World War I, Connersville, largely due to the Ansted family's influence, housed a complete ecosystem for car production, including bodybuilders, wheel makers, and component suppliers. Frank B. Ansted was an engineer at heart. He believed that the secret to automotive quality lay in producing the finest possible engine, an area where Lexington had previously relied on outside suppliers like Continental. The war years brought immense profits to the Ansted-controlled factories through military contracts, providing the capital necessary for an ambitious vertical integration project, manufacturing their own high-quality, advanced engine. The decision was made in 1917 to establish a dedicated, cutting-edge facility, the Ansted Engineering Company. This facility was intended solely to produce a highly advanced, proprietary engine for use across all Ansted-controlled automotive brands. The new engine, designed in-house, was a six-cylinder unit featuring an overhead valve configuration. This design was considered technically superior to the common side valve engines of the era, offering better efficiency and power. The successful development of this advanced engine became the cornerstone of Frank B. Ansted's strategy. He believed a common, superior engine would give his car companies a decisive edge in the competitive post-war market. The initial recipient of the Ansted engine was the Lexington Motor Car Company. The improved six-cylinder power plant was installed in Lexington models, allowing them to compete more effectively with larger national marques. The integration was a logistical triumph. The engine, chassis, and body components were sourced, built, and assembled all within a short distance in the Connersville Industrial Park, maximizing efficiency and minimizing costs. This vertical control was Frank B. Ansted's business masterpiece. He owned the engine company, Ansted Engineering, the assembly company, Lexington, and key component suppliers, controlling the entire value chain. However, despite the engineering confidence, the post-war economy of 1918 was volatile. Manufacturers needed strong brands and deep pockets to survive the transition from wartime economy to civilian production. Ansted saw an opportunity for massive consolidation. To better finance and market his growing collection of companies, he began planning a large corporate merger, which would ultimately lead to the birth of the Ansted car itself. The plan was not just to sell engines, but to leverage the Ansted name itself as a mark of engineering quality and luxury, a brand that could command a premium price above the mid-market Lexington. This ambition required a new platform, a high-end luxury car that would showcase the capabilities of the Ansted engine and the quality of the Ansted-controlled component companies. The entire Connersville operation was built on the premise that synergy and vertical integration could overcome the branding power of the major Detroit manufacturers, a strategy that carried inherent high financial risk. By 1919, the stage was set. Frank B. Ansted was ready to consolidate his empire, establish his luxury brand, and launch the car that would bear his name, staking his family's considerable reputation on the success of a single premium automobile. The pivotal moment for the Ansted automotive venture was the establishment of the Ansted Engineering Company in 1917. This venture was not just an engine supplier. It was the physical embodiment of Frank B. Ansted's conviction that superior, proprietary engineering was the only way to succeed in the high-end market. The objective was to design and manufacture a six-cylinder engine that could rival the best power plants coming out of Detroit and Europe, giving Ansted-controlled cars a competitive edge over rivals reliant on generic, mass-produced components. The resulting Ansted engine was a sophisticated inline six-cylinder unit. Its defining feature was the overhead valve, or OHV design, a complex choice at a time when most American manufacturers still relied on the simpler, cheaper, but less efficient L-head or side valve configuration. The OHV architecture, while more expensive to produce, allowed for better control of the combustion process, resulting in higher compression ratios, superior volumetric efficiency, and, crucially, greater horsepower output relative to its displacement. The engine's advanced metallurgy and precision machining were hallmarks of the Ansted Engineering Company's commitment to quality. The engine block and head were cast and finished in Connersville, maintaining tight control over tolerances and materials. The Ansted six-cylinder was initially rated at approximately 50 horsepower, but it was lauded for its smooth, consistent power delivery, which was essential for the luxury touring cars it was destined to power. The first major customer was the Ansted-owned Lexington Motor Car Company. Beginning in 1919, the Ansted engine powered Lexington's top-of-the-line models, instantly elevating their prestige and market positioning. This in-house supply chain eliminated the reliance on external engine makers, protecting Lexington from supply shortages and ensuring that the engine specifications perfectly matched the needs of the Connersville-built chassis. The success of the engine cemented Frank B. Ansted's reputation as an astute industrialist. The engine was marketed not just for its performance, but for its role as the heart of the car in all Ansted-related advertising. However, the establishment of the Ansted Engineering Company required massive capital investment in specialized machinery and tooling, placing a significant financial burden on the overall group of companies. The high production cost of the OHV engine meant that its use was inherently limited to premium vehicles. It was too expensive for true mass-market application, immediately restricting the final Ansted car to a high-priced, low-volume segment. The strategy was a double-edged sword. The advanced engine provided the justification for a luxury price tag, but the low production volume required to cover the engine's cost made the entire venture financially fragile. Ansted recognized that even his sizable personal wealth and control over Lexington were insufficient to sustain the high costs of this specialized engine production alone, particularly during the post-war recession of 1920. This realization catalyzed the need for a massive corporate consolidation. To spread the financial risk
and secure outside investment, Ansted sought to merge his various enterprises, engine, car, and component companies, under one major holding company. The plan was to create an industrial giant capable of leveraging the advanced Ansted engine across a wider range of products, utilizing the synergy of the vertically integrated factories. In 1920, this plan materialized with the formation of the United States Automotive Corporation, or USAC. USAC was created specifically to acquire the Ansted Engineering Company, the Lexington Motor Car Company, and the Connersville Body Company, among others. The USAC structure was designed to finance the introduction of the ultimate luxury vehicle that would bear the Ansted name itself, a car that would be the flagship, showcasing the engine's full potential without compromise. The creation of USAC and the high-end Ansted car was an audacious gamble, leveraging a superior engine design against the overwhelming market power and distribution networks of Detroit's luxury brands. The advanced nature of the Ansted engine, however, remained the company's best asset. It was a silent promise of performance and quality that positioned the upcoming Ansted automobile as an engineering-driven alternative to mainstream luxury. By the end of 1920, the corporate framework was complete. The Ansted engine was a proven success in Lexington models, the factories were consolidated under USAC, and the final design for the ultra-exclusive Ansted automobile was ready for production.
The period between 1920 and 1922 was defined by a critical corporate restructuring designed to sustain the costly engineering prowess of the Ansted family empire. Frank B. Ansted's vision culminated in the formation of a unified automotive conglomerate, but it was an endeavor fraught with financial peril from the start. In 1920, the United States Automotive Corporation, USAC, was established as the primary holding company. USAC was formed not merely through merger, but through a complex acquisition of various Ansted-controlled interests, including the high-volume engine plant, the body manufacturer, and the Lexington Motor Car Company. The primary goal of USAC was twofold. First, to achieve vertical integration and cost efficiencies by consolidating the production chain entirely within Connersville. And second, to attract the necessary capital investment to survive the turbulent post-war recession. Crucially, USAC sought to leverage the reputation of the high-quality Ansted OHV six-cylinder engine across all its car lines. While the engine was already proving successful in the mid-market Lexington, USAC needed a true flagship to command a premium price and establish the Ansted name as a mark of ultimate luxury. The answer was the Ansted automobile. Conceived as a direct competitor to prestige marques like Packard and Cadillac, the Ansted car was designed as the ultimate showcase of the engineering and craftsmanship available within the USAC stable. Introduced in 1921, the Ansted car was not a separate line of vehicles, but a single, highly luxurious model, typically available in standard body styles like a 5-passenger sedan and a 4-passenger phaeton. The model was simply known as the Ansted. This single-model strategy was dictated by the economics of the specialized Ansted engine. The high cost of producing the sophisticated OHV power plant meant that high-volume, lower-priced offerings were impossible, forcing the company into the exclusive, low-volume luxury segment. The car was an engineering marvel, featuring a longer wheelbase than the contemporary Lexington, allowing for more expansive and luxurious coachwork.
It was built with meticulous attention to detail, utilizing the best materials sourced from the USAC-owned component plants. The decision to apply the Ansted name to the car itself was a calculated risk. It placed the family's engineering reputation directly on the line, emphasizing that this was a car where every component, especially the engine, was held to the highest possible standard. The pricing immediately reflected this premium positioning. The Ansted sedan was typically listed at around $4,500 at a time when the average Ford Model T sold for under $400. This price placed it squarely in competition with established giants like the Cadillac Type 61. Production of the Ansted car began in earnest in 1922, alongside its sister marque, the Lexington. The factory in Connersville was reorganized to handle both the high-volume Lexington and the hand-built low-volume Ansted assembly lines simultaneously. However, the consolidation into USAC did not solve the fundamental problem: undercapitalization. The cost of integrating the companies and the debt incurred from the engine plant investment left the corporation financially exposed, particularly to any economic downturn. The market reception, while positive for the car's quality, was lukewarm regarding sales volume. Customers in the early 1920s luxury segment preferred the established branding and national service networks offered by Packard and Cadillac. Selling a brand-new, unproven luxury marque priced identically to a Cadillac proved to be an immense hurdle. The Ansted name lacked the prestige and assurance of longevity that high-end buyers demanded for such a significant investment. The USAC structure, meant to be a strength, became a weakness. The profitability of the Lexington brand was expected to subsidize the high-cost Ansted engineering, but sales across the entire market were softer than anticipated, placing pressure on the entire conglomerate. Frank B. Ansted, serving as the president of USAC, personally guaranteed the quality and future of the marque, using his own reputation to vouch for the car's engineering excellence. But personal assurance was no match for corporate scale. The Ansted car was short-lived. Due to the rapid decline in corporate finances and the inability to generate sufficient sales volume, the car was produced for barely more than a year. Its brief tenure ended almost as quickly as it began. The total number of Ansted automobiles ever produced is highly debated due to incomplete records, but the consensus among historians is that fewer than 100 units were ever manufactured, making it one of the rarest of the American brass era. The Ansted automobile remains a fascinating artifact, a car conceived and built by an integrated company to showcase a technically superior engine, but which failed due to corporate overreach and a miscalculation of brand power in the luxury segment. By the close of 1923, the financial situation for USAC was dire. The ambitious dream of a vertically integrated luxury car company was collapsing under the weight of its own capital structure, leading inexorably toward receivership. The Ansted automobile, available briefly in 1922 and 1923, represented the pinnacle of the Frank B. Ansted's vision, a high-priced, beautifully crafted luxury car engineered entirely within the vertically integrated Connersville empire. It was a vehicle designed to demonstrate that the Ansted name stood for engineering excellence. The foundation of the Ansted car was a strong, conventional, separate-frame chassis, but it featured a significantly longer wheelbase, around 127 inches, than its contemporary mid-market siblings like the Lexington. This length was crucial for accommodating the expansive, luxurious bodies. The core technical asset was, of course, the Ansted six-cylinder OVH overhead valve engine. Its advanced design provided exceptional smoothness and reliability, two non-negotiable traits for luxury buyers who expected effortless cruising and minimal mechanical trouble. While the engine's power output was modest by today's standards, around 50 horsepower, it was sufficient to propel the heavy vehicle with respectable acceleration for the era. The overhead valve configuration gave it a distinct performance edge over most competitors' side valve designs. The engine was mated to a conventional 3-speed manual transmission, but the drivetrain featured a reliable, robust rear axle suitable for the heavy demands of luxury touring. The mechanical systems were engineered for durability over radical innovation. On the exterior, the Ansted was distinguished by its elegant coatwork. Body production was handled by the Connersville Body Company, another subsidiary of the USAC conglomerate, ensuring high-quality control and consistency. The primary body styles offered were the 5-passenger sedan and the 4-passenger Phaeton touring car. These bodies featured classic, graceful lines, deep fenders, and a commanding presence that signaled the car's high-end status. The Phaeton model in particular boasted high-quality leather interiors, carefully selected wood trim, and a thick canvas top designed for durability and weather resistance, reflecting the car's intended use for comfortable long-distance touring. The sedan offered even greater luxury. Interiors featured rich broadcloth upholstery, plush carpeting, and enclosed cabin comforts that were essential for high-end motoring in the early 1920s. Attention was paid to minimizing engine noise and road vibration. The Ansted car came standard with several features that were often optional extras on lesser Marques, including a sophisticated electric starting system and comprehensive lighting. These features aimed to simplify the motoring experience for the wealthy owner. Despite its quality, the Ansted faced severe marketing disadvantages. It was launched into a market saturated with established luxury brands like Packard, Pierce Arrow, and Cadillac, all of whom possessed vastly superior dealer networks and brand recognition. The price point, roughly $4,500, was the critical compromise. While the quality justified the cost, the premium buyer was highly risk-averse, preferring to spend such a sum on a brand with a guaranteed service future and high resale value, something the unproven Ansted lacked. The Ansted was effectively a beautifully engineered parts bin car from the USAC perspective. The engine, transmission, and body were all components designed for synergy, but this internal focus failed to generate the necessary market excitement and confidence. The company attempted to overcome the brand deficit by focusing advertising almost exclusively on the engineering integrity and the proven success of the Ansted engine in endurance runs, highlighting its technical superiority. However, the lack of a national dealer network was crippling. A luxury car requires specialized service, and the Ansted's limited distribution meant that maintenance and repairs outside of the Connersville area were a significant complication for potential buyers. The USAC board hoped the Ansted luxury brand would elevate the entire conglomerate. Instead, the low sales volume of the Ansted car, combined with the high cost of its OVH engine production, created an immediate financial drag on the entire operation. Competing Marques, particularly Cadillac, offered similar luxury but benefited from the economies of scale and corporate backing of General Motors, allowing them to remain competitive even with equivalent price points. Ansted could not match this scale. The Ansted car was a technically successful product built on a commercially flawed strategy. It was a victim of its own vertical ambition and a failure to recognize that luxury markets value brand history and security as much as, or more than, technical specifications. The short production run meant that the opportunity to establish the necessary reputation was lost almost immediately. The financial realities of USAC dictated that the Ansted automobile be sacrificed to save the more volume-focused Lexington. By the end of 1923, after barely a year in the market, production of the Ansted car quietly ceased. It remains a beautiful but fleeting footnote, a testament to what advanced independent engineering could achieve and what corporate failure could swiftly extinguish.
The period from 1923 to 1924 brought the ambitious United States Automotive Corporation and its flagship Ansted automobile to a crashing halt. The combination of fierce competition, post-war economic instability, and crippling overcapitalization proved to be an insurmountable obstacle for the Connersville conglomerate. The financial Achilles heel was the sheer cost of vertical integration. While Frank B. Ansted's goal was synergy, the heavy investment in the specialized Ansted Engineering Company and the Connersville Body Company, coupled with the long-term debt acquired during the USAC merger, created massive overhead costs. These high fixed costs required high-volume sales across the entire corporate structure to maintain solvency. When the mid-market Lexington sales softened, the financial viability of the entire USAC empire was immediately threatened. The Ansted automobile, the premium flagship, failed spectacularly to provide the necessary cash flow. With an estimated production of fewer than 100 units over its brief run, the profits generated were negligible compared to the overhead cost of producing its sophisticated OHV engine and specialized bodywork. The Ansted car suffered fatally from its pricing. Selling at $4,500, it was directly competitive with the latest models from established luxury Marques. Buyers preferred the security, history, and expansive dealer service networks offered by Packard and Cadillac. Lacking the deep pockets of the Detroit giants, USAC was unable to mount an effective national marketing campaign or establish the necessary coast-to-coast service infrastructure that luxury buyers demanded. The reliance on regional sales proved insufficient. By late 1923, the financial strain reached a critical point. The mounting corporate debt, exacerbated by inventory problems and slow sales across the Lexington line, forced the hand of USAC's creditors. Frank B. Ansted fought desperately to keep the empire solvent, leveraging personal wealth and attempting to secure new bank loans. However, the assets, a large engine plant and several component factories, were tied up in an unsustainably complex corporate structure. In November 1923, the inevitable occurred. The United States Automotive Corporation was formally forced into receivership. This legal action signaled the total collapse of Ansted's ambitious consolidation experiment. The first casualty was the Ansted automobile itself. Production had already been quietly discontinued earlier in the year, as USAC management desperately attempted to cut losses and focus resources on saving the more viable Lexington brand. The receivership process, managed by court-appointed trustees, lasted well into 1924.
The primary goal was to liquidate the assets of USAC efficiently, to repay creditors, marking the official end of the Ansted Car Company. The Ansted Engineering Company, the very heart of Frank B. Ansted's vision, was dismantled and its machinery catalogued for sale. Its demise was a stark reminder that engineering superiority is no substitute for financial scale and market acceptance. The failure of USAC underscored a major trend in 1920s American industry. The era of the small, independent, regional manufacturer was rapidly ending, replaced by the centralized power of large conglomerates like General Motors and Ford. Frank B. Ansted's reputation, while damaged, survived the collapse. His integrity was never questioned, only his corporate strategy. His personal commitment to his workers and the Connersville community remained strong. The tragedy of the Ansted car was that it was a genuinely high-quality product. Contemporary reviews praised its engine smoothness and the beauty of its coachwork, confirming that the failure was strictly commercial and structural, not a reflection of mechanical inadequacy. The low production volume, which contributed to the failure, ironically ensured the car's current rarity. By 1925, the few Ansted cars that existed were already considered historical oddities. The receivership marked the final separation of the various USAC assets. The stage was set for the vultures of the automotive industry to pick through the wreckage, seeking usable factory space, machinery, and component designs. The story of Ansted serves as a classic cautionary tale of the American automotive golden age. A superior, costly engine could not compensate for insufficient capital and the inability to penetrate a highly conservative luxury market. The financial collapse effectively ended the Ansted family's direct involvement in high-end finished automobile production, closing the book on their brief but fascinating experiment in luxury motoring. By the close of 1924, the Ansted name was retired from the world of new cars, its memory preserved only in the hands of a few extremely rare surviving examples, and the ledger books detailing the extent of the corporate loss.
Following the receivership of the United States Automotive Corporation in late 1923, the final chapter of the Ansted saga unfolded over the next few years as the assets were systematically liquidated. The dream of the vertically integrated luxury car was officially dead, but the components of the empire lived on, repurposed by others. The most valuable asset was the Ansted Engineering Company itself, the engine plant. Its modern machinery and capacity for producing the advanced OHV six-cylinder engine were attractive to surviving independent manufacturers seeking to upgrade their product lines. In a significant transaction in 1926, the Auburn Automobile Company, under the shrewd leadership of E.L. Cord, acquired the engine plant and its tooling. Auburn used the Connersville facility to produce their own advanced 8-cylinder engines, benefiting directly from Ansted's prior investment. The acquisition by Auburn effectively absorbed the Ansted engine factory into the rapidly growing Cord empire, ensuring that the former Ansted facilities continued to be a center of advanced engine production for decades, albeit under new ownership. The Lexington Automobile Company, the sister brand under USAC, struggled on briefly, attempting to find a new financial footing. However, without the guaranteed engine supply
and the financial backing of the consolidated USAC, it finally succumbed to insolvency in 1927. The failure of Lexington marked the true end of the Connersville automotive empire built by the Ansted family. The factories were eventually repurposed or shut down, concluding the city's brief but important role as a major automotive hub. Frank B. Ansted, the driving force behind the entire enterprise, survived the corporate collapse with his reputation intact. He shifted his focus back to the component businesses, notably the Central Manufacturing Company, which continued to produce high-quality bodies for other manufacturers, including Auburn. Ansted's later career focused on component supply rather than finished cars, a more pragmatic and successful venture that allowed him to recoup much of his personal financial loss and remain an influential industrial figure until his death in 1942. The ultimate legacy of the Ansted automobile is its extreme rarity. Due to the estimated production of fewer than 100 units and the destruction of most records during the collapse, the Ansted is among the least seen luxury cars of the 1920s. Today, automotive historians confirm the existence of only a handful of surviving Ansted automobiles, making them highly prized museum pieces and collector's items, valued primarily for their historical context as a rare example of a vertically integrated luxury marque failure. The surviving cars attest to the quality that Frank B. Ansted strived for. They're beautifully preserved examples of early 1920s luxury coachwork, still powered by the smooth, technically advanced OHV six-cylinder engine that started the entire venture. The Ansted story stands as a classic case study in early 20th century American industry. It demonstrated that brilliant engineering, the OHV engine, and sophisticated corporate structure, vertical integration, were insufficient to overcome the power of established brands and massive capital. The failure of Ansted and Lexington reinforced the eventual dominance of the Big Three, Ford, GM, and Chrysler, and their model of large-scale production, massive dealer networks, and relentless cost reduction, which small independents could never match. The ultimate irony lies in the absorption of the assets. The engine plant became the backbone of Auburn's engine division, and the body plant continued supplying luxury coachwork, proving the individual components were valuable, but the assembled whole was financially doomed. The memory of the Ansted automobile is kept alive today by a small, dedicated community of historians and collectors who preserve these rare remnants, ensuring that the legacy of Connersville's boldest luxury attempt is not entirely forgotten. The Ansted car was a brief flash of brilliance, extinguished by the ruthless economic realities of the Roaring Twenties. It achieved technical superiority, but failed to secure the confidence of the luxury consumer. The legacy of Ansted is found not on the road, but in the archives and the rare museum displays, serving as a powerful reminder of the high stakes involved in challenging the automotive establishment during its most formative era. Frank B. Ansted's contribution was not the car itself, but the engineering foundation, the advanced OHV engine, which went on to power other successful brands for years after his own luxury marque failed. The elegant lines of the surviving Ansted cars are a beautiful memorial to the ambition of one man and one town, standing as the rarest symbol of the vertical integration dream that defined American industrial enterprise in the 1920s. The Ansted automobile, short-lived, highly engineered, and profoundly rare, remains a fascinating, unrepeatable chapter in the history of American luxury motoring.